Jinder Mahal is your new WWE champion. I I'm sh- I'm fairly shocked by that result. I did not expect him to actually win the title. I expected him to maybe win, but not actually win the title tonight. Um, Jinder picking up the win thanks to the Bollywood Boys basically sacrificing themselves to Randy Orton.
Again,
I'm going to give the guy credit. I'm going to give Jinder credit where credit is due. I'll give him credit. He seems like a positive guy. And I'll give him credit. He's definitely worked on his physique since he was last in WWE. But I mean, I'm sorry. I just can't fully take. I'm not gonna. As I said yesterday, I'm not a big fan of Randy Orton's was a fan of Randy Orton's title run. It's over now. Thanks, Jinder. But I'm also not the biggest fan of Jinder either. I mean, he hasn't really done much since coming back, and then a month ago, I'm automatically supposed to believe. And you know what? I think he's kind of getting himself set up here for success. He has his little group. He has the Bollywood Boys, the Singh Brothers, whatever they're calling them now. I don't know. But he has his little group. He has his heel. He has his foreign heel shtick going, even though, fun fact, he's Canadian. Actually, all three of them are Canadian. I don't even think Jinder Mahal's actually ever been to India before. But hey, if it works for them, I don't think they actually have any real Indian wrestlers from India since Khali left. And God forbid, I'm not saying I want Khali to come back and win the world title. God, keep him away, but I mean, he's looking good. He looks good. He has the heel thing. If only they had actually spent more than a month trying to make him look like a heel.
and that's the problem, because, see, I just can't get behind a guy
who's been jobbing for, like, ever since he came back.
A guy who's been jobbing basically his whole
career
in
and
WWE.
Then a month ago, he wins this thing, and now he's the world champion. I mean, and I said it. It could work. He has everything he needs. He has the group. He has the gimmick, somewhat. He has the people booing. He has some support because there was fans cheering him last night. He has some support and some boos, so he's kind of in the middle there for the heel thing. But he's only been built up for a month. I mean, what's the end goal? Is he a transitional champion? Is this an experiment? Like, I get why they put the title on Jinder. They're trying to expand into the Indian market, and they want an Indian champion. I get it. It's business. It's a business choice, not a story choice. But still, you could have at least somewhat started to do it a bit earlier. You could have at least tried to build him up at an earlier time if this was your goal. Unless they just thought about it last month.
And the other thing that interests me is that Jinder, right before he went to SmackDown, was in a team and then had a rivalry with Rusev. Jinder's now the world champion, and Rusev wants a world title shot.
That's something we're going to have to talk about in a bit, because Rusev's another guy I want to talk about, because you're right. There's a lot of things
So now are we going to get Rusev versus Jinder Mahal for the
Money in the Bank, or is Randy Orton going to get his rematch? Which makes me think, is Rusev going to win Money in the Bank maybe this year? Maybe it's going to be a Money in the Bank ladder match this year. Maybe he's going to pick up the win, which is shocking because I've said, a lot of people have said, including myself, that I think the big guy this year was supposed to be Corbin, who was supposed to win. Okay. That's who everyone was guessing.
But the other issue is that you're so close to SummerSlam.
John Cena.
That you may now possibly have Jinder Mahal walk into SummerSlam as the world champion.
And then you had
God
to think,
forbid.
And then you think, Raw has the part-timer Brock Lesnar, and SmackDown has Jinder Mahal. God, I'd hate to see if he holds the title to Survivor Series. You know what this reminds me of? This kind of reminds me of what they originally did with JBL. You know, where he was losing and then he won the title, and then he just held it for so long because they kept finding random ass ways to make him win, random ass heelless ways to make him win. Except this time, instead of it being the All-American JBL, it's now the great Maharaja in Jinder Mahal. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing.
God forbid if we have the next 10 months as
Jinder's champion. Jinder holds it to the Royal Rumble. I don't think Jinder's going to hold the title for long. I don't. No. Because another thing that popped up was the Backlash attendance. So apparently, they held it at Allstate Arena, okay? Now, of course, the last pay-per-view to be held at Allstate was Payback, I believe, and it got about 1,400 people in the stadium. Now, Backlash only apparently got a little over 9,000. Comparatively, the last time a Raw live event was there, it got the same number. So it seems like there's a bit of a concern. Apparently, attendance seemed to be pretty down. I mean, and granted, I don't think anyone was really looking. Backlash wasn't really a pay-per-view I was looking fully forward to be honest. Mm-hmm. The matches seemed all marquee. It seemed pretty predictable. And the main event was Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton. A match I wasn't expecting to be anywhere good. And I'll admit, the match was better than I expected, which isn't really saying much. But, can I just say, can I just bring up one thing? I don't know which Singh brother it was, but my god, how that one landed on his neck. I don't know which one that was. I don't know if it was Herv or Gerv.
Man, Randy Orton flipped them upside down.
I give him credit for the one guy. I legitimately thought he, snapped his neck there. He fell, and his head just compressed inward. It touched his chest.
All I know is Randy Orton had enough. Randy Orton was like, you know what?
And it was kind of sad. They weren't really doing much during the match, if you think about it. They really, for most of that match, they just kind of stood on the sideline and just watched, for the most part.
Yeah, but I mean, that RKO, Randy Orton had that. Randy Orton had that match won and then the Singh brothers pulled him out.
Which I guess is,
Come on, if I was Randy Orton, I would do the exact same thing. I'm sorry, but...
But, and then Jinder gets the, cheap heel win. He picks him up. I guess that's what they're going for. Apparently, Vince McMahon really likes the idea of Jinder, and he really likes Jinder. Apparently, even the choice to have Jinder win the title apparently didn't happen until about 2 hours before the show began. Class of WWE Creative, their last-minute decision-making on your World Championship match. But, I mean, with Jinder, I just don't... The guy has the physique. I'll give him that. He has the stable. He has the gimmick. And you know what? Maybe if you had held off on him for a couple more months and had him built up a couple more months, maybe I would have cared about him a bit more. Maybe. I'm not the type of guy who sees something, oh, it's new, and I jump on the bandwagon. You have to do a lot more with me. Just because it's something new doesn't mean I'm going to like it. Which is why I was hoping, maybe they're going to have Jinder win, but maybe he's going to win by DQ. Maybe they're going to push this out a bit. Maybe if they're going to give Jinder the title, to at least build up. Nope. They just straight up gave it to him at Backlash. And granted, they made him look like with the carpet and the whole thing. They made him look like he was important. They treated him like he was important, at least. And they didn't. But I kind of feel bad for Randy Orton a bit because because Randy Orton just kind of seemed to lug around the match. Randy Orton just seemed. It's like Randy Orton knew he was losing to Jinder, and he looked like he didn't want to do it. He looked like he was like, I really do not like this decision. And of course, I understand. This isn't a wrestling decision. This is a business decision. This is your Indian guy. And they're doing their Indian expansion right now. Like when they were doing their Japanese expansion last year, and they signed Shinsuke and AJ and Gallows and Anderson and Asuka and all that.
That's the other thing I want to talk about. That match with Dolph Ziggler and Shinsuke Nakamura, I was not expecting that much of a fight from Dolph.
I wasn't
Ziggler.
expecting the match to go 15 minutes. I was honestly not expecting
And
the
it
match
was
to go as long as
very nicely back and forth. Like, it wasn't.
I thought they were
just
going to have
dominating.
Shinsuke dominate most of the match, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too, but they ended having it like kind of back and forth.
Which
It's
is weird. Which is
interesting.
weird because I didn't think they were going to actually do that. They let Ziggler get in his moments. They let Nakamura get in his moments. They didn't make either one look overly strong against the other.
Man, Ziggler hit that zigzag though, because of the way that Nakamura landed.
Yeah. Not only that, but I have to give credit to Dolph for taking that Kinshasa damn well.
Yeah, he sold that one. He sold that.
But when you look at the, it could be worse. It could have been the welcoming committee match. We're gonna have to talk about that match. And either way, I don't want to
Jesus.
talk about it. It was bad. It was It was bad. It was sloppy. It was boring. I think we skipped most of the match. We don't watch live. We record specifically for this kind of stuff, reasons, in case there's something that's boring. And I think we skipped basically the whole match. I think we only stopped to see the ending of the match, like the legitimate ending where Natalya made Becky tap out. That's another thing. It looks like Natalya is now the new top heel of SmackDown. We went from Alexa Bliss and Mickie James to Natalya now.
Basically, Natalia, Carmella, and Tamina. I mean, it's all.
They're all one big group. And can we talk about the name? Welcoming Committee. Who backstage thought of that name and thought that was a good idea? What guy was sitting there one day with the creative team and was like, hey guys, Welcoming Committee.
Yeah, like, that's not a.
Like, if you're going to have a team name, give me some good team names. Don't give me the
Yeah.
Welcoming Committee. And, of course, I don't see I'm going to say it, I don't see Charlotte as a face lasting too long. Let's be
No.
honest. It's not lasting long. This is an experiment, but it's not going to last long. Charlotte is not going to be a face for long. If you're expecting Charlotte to be a face for long, don't get your hopes down. She's going back to being heel. Because no offense to Natalya, but
It's who Charlotte is. I mean, come on.
She
she's
plays such a
just
better
like
heel.
her father. It's all about the championships. You know, Rick taught her everything.
I just don't. She plays a better heel than she does a face. That's the thing. She plays a way better heel than she does a face, anyways.
Yeah.
She has that heel persona. She just has that flair persona.
And with all of her accomplishments, she basically has a right to kind of glow. I'm not going to say that her title reigns have all been great.
I forget. Like, I swear, like, only one of those title reigns actually happened for legitimately more than a month. With that whole flip-floppy thing with Sasha. But, with Charlotte, she just plays a better heel. And I don't see the face character in Charlotte right now. I don't understand why she's a face right now. They're just kind of trying to build... Like, she comes into SmackDown, she acts heel, then the next week she's acting like a face.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Yeah, if you're gonna... classic rule of booking, if you're going to turn somebody face or heel, you should have a reason for it. People don't just don't just go from being a dick to being the nicest guy in the room in a fucking day without any reason.
Yeah.
Why the hell should Charlotte work with Naomi or Becky? Why? To get where she wants to. What, are you telling me that now she's going to be
And
all
you
friendly and happy?
And you notice it in how she talks. Also, because it's like... Because she'll say something nice, and then she'll say,
Smarky.
yeah, but I'm coming for the title.
She'll say something smarky afterwards.
Yeah, like...
Which is
and,
why...
and it's always about coming after Naomi and the championship.
Which makes me feel like they're not fully confident on turning her face yet. Which makes me feel like this isn't going to last long as her as a face. I feel like this is just a temporary thing. And I can tell... And you can tell if creative wanted to make her face, they'd make her face. They wouldn't be giving this smarky attitude to her.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this welcoming committee thing's going to, like, die down. Because, God forbid, like, we don't need another pay-per-view with them. With another 6-woman match.
Yeah. Like, no.
The first match was bad enough. I have no reason to believe the second match is going to be better. I didn't even,
Probably
and I didn't watch the kickoff show. Aiden and Ty, I just skipped that too. Didn't bother watching that. I don't know. I don't even think we recorded the pre-show.
No, I don't think we did.
I don't think we really missed much, but let's be honest. In fact, the sad thing is that the most entertaining thing of the night for me was frickin' Breezango.
Yeah.
Which is sad to me, because why is Breezango the most entertaining thing here? It's so stupid, it's funny. That's how I say it. It's one of those things where it's so stupid to me that I find it funny. And the Usos sold it perfectly. The Usos were selling it. At the start, they weren't taking it seriously, and then slowly. It makes me actually kind of sad that they lost now, because a part of me actually wanted to see them win. Which is weird for me. I usually hate this kind of stuff in wrestling. I'm kind of the old school guy. I kind of like the old school thing. I'm not really a fan of comedy in wrestling, but for once, they actually seem to make it work for me. I legitimately laughed at parts of it. And I think that's sad. I don't know who's going to be challenging the Usos next. I have a good guess.
Yeah.
I have a very good guess, but that's probably something for a later discussion later on in this podcast. But, the Usos retained. They kind of retained in a weird way, too. A super kick to Fandango on the top rope and got the free count. That was, I wasn't expecting that. It kind of, made me go, huh? Yeah. It gave me that, like, hum moment, where it's like, oh, okay, that's how you're gonna end it. Sure. It was kind of just out of nowhere, the free count. Like, he just super kicked him. I didn't think the match was over there. Had no reason to believe. Then they just did the free count. I was like, oh.
Yeah, but he hit that super kick pretty hard.
But, not really a lot of matches left to talk about. I guess if you save my personal two favorite matches of the night for last, I get Sami Zayn and Corbin was interesting. It's a matchup I've seen before. I've seen Corbin and Sami Zayn go at it quite a few times before. A lot of times. Quite a few times in NXT. Quite a few times on the main roster. It was a pretty standard match for both. Their usual standard match, but they were able to keep it interesting. They put on good matches with each other. Corbin's improved a lot in the last year. Like a lot since he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Oh yeah,
He's improved a lot on the main roster. And I have no doubt that they're going to eventually push him as the top heel of SmackDown. Him and Rusev I see as the next top heels of SmackDown. But Sami Zayn actually pulled up the upset win. Sami Zayn, who's been basically losing since he's come to SmackDown, who's been the guy who's been pinned by Jinder twice. Yep. Don't hinder Jinder. He picked up the upset win over Corbin. I was surprised. I thought Corbin was going to win. I thought they were going to get him that win to boost him up a bit, which also makes me think that maybe he's going to win Money in the Bank this year. Because it seems like they seem to do this with Money in the Bank winners, too.
I'm gonna say if the top three are gonna be Corbin, Sammy, and Rusev.
Those are the two. Those are the three I see the most likely to win. Exactly, and I don't know now because I think it depends because I don't know. Are they going to actually give Rusev the title shot at Money in the Bank, or are they going to give it to Randy?
Well, Randy is deserved of the
They could give him... Granted, he could get his rematch on TV.
Yeah, but...
There's nothing...
SmackDown's been doing that quite a bit.
Yeah, they've been doing that kind of quite a bit. But, actually, they've been doing that quite a bit. Actually, I think that, they also announced that AJ and Owens were going to get their rematch on the SmackDown episode, too. Yes. Which makes me believe that Randy may be getting his title shot, or in which case they may be staying up for Rusev. But then I'm wondering, does that mean Jinder's going to beat Rusev too, or is Rusev taking the title at Money in the Bank?
It's possible though, right? Like,
does Rusev go into SummerSlam as champ? I don't know what their plan is here. I don't even think they know what their plan is. I think they're waiting to see what happens with Jinder as champion. they're going to see what he does with the title. They're going to see how people react. They're trying to see if they can get something out of him. And granted, this is Jinder's one chance to probably make an impression of himself.
Yeah.
Do I think Jinder's going to hold the title for long? No. Is it going into SummerSlam champion? Most likely not. Money in the Bank? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Money in the Bank. Depending. Probably Money in the Bank. In which case, there's a good chance he's going to lose at Money in the Bank. Do I think Jinder's going to go right back to being a jobber? No. I think, and I'm sorry to say it, I think Jinder's here to stay. Not in the main event scene, but at least in the high mid-card scene. With guys like Sammy and Owens, where Owens is with the US champion, Sammy, and all them. He's staying in that level. Because he has the stable now, with the Bollywood Boys. That's another group who's probably going to start wrestling again soon, the Bollywood Boys. They haven't wrestled a match since they've come with him, which is surprising. I thought they were going to kind of push them in the tag team role. Jinder pushing towards the world, them pushing towards the tag. Seemed like that's their natural course of action, but no, they've kind of just stayed in the manager role so far. But definitely, you have the Bollywood Boys. He has the heat. He has the world. He's a former world champion now.
Yep.
He'll be a former. It's going to go down into the history books that Jinder Mahal was a WWE world champion. You can't change that now. And it's going to be... Granted, there's a lot of people who are former world champions who fall off the spectrum. Swagger, Ziggler, etc., etc. Ezekiel Jackson, if you count his one-day ECW championship reign. People like that, who kind of just win the title. Kane won the world title and then kind of fell slowly. Never got back up. Mark Henry won the world title and he never really went back up to that height. So, but I feel like they are pushing Jinder to be at least a top level mid-carder. At least. Top level mid-carder. Maybe even keep him in the world title scene at times. Kind of like what Ambrose was doing. Ambrose was mostly in the Intercontinental title scene. But at the same time, he delved up and down between the world. When they needed him. When they needed him to. But, moving on from Jinder, because we've been talking about Jinder a lot. Granted, he did win the world title, so I guess that's fake. I think there's actually... I forgot about that match. I forgot about Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Pretty standard match. I thought it was decent. Both guys got decent amount of time. I felt weird of how it was placed because it was the match right before the main event, positioned right between the US title and the world title, which was kind of weird to me. I don't know why they did it, but hey, sure. I'm not going to question where you put your matches. I don't question that stuff anymore with WWE pay-per-views. But it was a pretty decent match. Luke Harper got the win. Not much else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean...
Decent match. We talked about Luke Harper and Eric Rowan yesterday. I like Luke Harper. I don't mind Eric Rowan. I think they both have potential to be good mid-carders. I think Luke Harper could definitely carry the mid-card scene if he needed to. I think both of them are impressive. I didn't praise them as the next big things. I said Eric Rowan still had things to work on in ring and mic wise. Luke Harper has the in ring solid pretty much. Mic work could use some bit, but pretty standard match. Nothing. There's honestly not much I can say about the match other than that. Just a pretty standard match. And then we had the match of the night, in my opinion. For the most part, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles for the US title. Kevin Owens retained by DQ in the most anticlimactic way possible. He put AJ's foot in the announce table. AJ got counted out.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of disappointed because I've said this before. A big problem about modern day matches is that you end on interference, DQ, or count out. And there's something that WWE does. WWE does it all the time on their weekly show. And I'm not going to turn this into a How to Book episode. I'm not going to go into the deep fanatics, but I'm just going to say it's a problem ruining good matches with faulty finishes when you could, and I get it, they're doing it so they can extend it, which means there's a good chance I think AJ's going to take the title at Money in the Bank. If they have a rematch at Money in the Bank, I should say.
Yeah.
There's a good chance.
I think that's safe to say.
That's safe to say, basically, and I'm not going to complain about AJ being U.S. champion. I'm not going to complain about Owens losing the U.S. championship. I'm liking Owens as the new face of America. I like how he's bragging about it. I think he's doing a good job being that heel. I like how he speaks French. As a fellow Canadian, I can tell you that him speaking French is kind of a hilarious little in point for us. Because I can't understand everything he says because I'm from Ontario. Because we're from Ontario, so we're not Southern Ontario, so we're not French all the way. But I have taken French class. I've taken French for years in school, so I understand how to get by, and I understand most of what he says, and it's hilarious. When you can actually speak the language he's talking, it's hilarious. That's what I feel people who speak Punjabi when Jinder starts talking. That's how I bet they feel. Because it makes you feel important. Makes you feel important. You can speak what Kevin Owens is speaking. But it was a pretty good match for the most part. Both guys looked good. Both guys got on their spots. Owens looked like a monster going in. AJ held his own against Owens. It looked like AJ was going to win. And then Owens did the whole outside spot with the table.
Yeah.
Which made it... And of course, when it came down to the match itself...
The match itself was
good.
A great match.
It was great. I liked it.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the cannonball spot on the leg. I thought that was pretty unique. Pretty good idea. He targeted the leg... basically the whole match.
And it's funny because I actually thought that AJ would have targeted the leg of Owens so he could have set up the calf killer.
That's what it's funny. You think it'd be AJ who targets the leg, but this time it was Owen. Owens basically targeted the leg the whole match. And of course, the match did have its slow moments, but the pay-per-view itself, I'm going to be honest, the pay-per-view was eh. It wasn't great. It wasn't too good. It was watchable. To the point where I could watch it, and I got by watching it. I wasn't too impressed on a lot of things. There wasn't really much that impressed me, per se. Again, the Nakamura-Ziggler match was better than I thought, but it was standard. Welcoming committee match, garbage. Don't even bother with the match. Tag title match, the match was eh. It was just Breezango. How Breezango just did the match, I found it hilarious. It gets points from me just because it made me laugh for once. And I'm a guy who usually hates comedy in wrestling, and it made me laugh a bit. So that's the only reason that match gets a pass.
I have to say, I love Fashion Files, and I think we need a series.
We need a network special. I enjoyed
yeah.
Fashion Files. Fashion Files was is probably right now one of the better reasons to watch SmackDown week by week. It's probably one of the best reasons to watch SmackDown week by week. It's entertaining. It's so stupid. It's entertaining. That's what I say. If it's so stupid, and of course, if I'm not gonna take it, there's people who'll take it so seriously. Don't take it seriously. Don't take Breezango seriously. Enjoy their comedy, even if it's bad comedy. Enjoy it. Try and enjoy it. Because really, I wasn't expecting too much out of the match anyways. Sami Zayn Corbin, good match. They always put on good matches. It was pretty much their basic match that the two have. I enjoy watching the match that Corbin and Sami Zayn usually put on. I am impressed how much Corbin's improved over the last year. I'm impressed that he's still improving. He's getting a lot better than he was when he first came into the main roster, because when he first came into the main roster, he was kind of clunky, still kind of green, but he's improved. He's worked with guys like AJ, and he's worked with guys like Cena, veterans, and he's homing his craft, and he's just going to keep getting better. So I'm excited to see where Corbin goes. Corbin's the kind of prospect that I'm watching out for. He's a big guy. He has the look. He has to talk, for the most part. It's kind of And for me, with Corbinville, I should say, because there's a lot of good talkers on There's quite a few good talkers in Owens and AJ on SmackDown right now, so it's kind of hard for him to compete, especially. And before he had to compete with The Miz, who, God forbid, you try and compete with The Miz in the talking, you're gonna have a bad time. But Corbin's doing good. Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, standard match. Not much I can say. It was good. They put on a good match. They entertained me for 10 minutes. Weird where they placed on the card. Owens and AJ, great.
Also, if I could talk about Luke Harper and Eric Rowan,
Sure.
I noticed.
Say what you want, because no offense, but we haven't really. But that match is just kind of. We haven't talked about that. That's the least talked about match we've talked about. So gladly add some information here, if you can think of anything to add.
I just noticed that during the match, even the commentary was saying that something's up with Eric Rowan.
Yeah, I don't know what they're playing with
because
that.
now they're saying that he keeps talking to it, and
I don't know what their end goal is with that.
And man, he took those super kicks, and he kept looking at that mask and kept taking the super kicks. Like, he kept taking it.
I don't know what their plan is with the whole... Is the mask angle leading to something? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and speculate on what it is. Because that would require me... Because no offense, but I don't even think there's any possible way I could speculate.
I'm not saying this is actually true. I don't know nothing, but I'm...
When it comes to stuff like this, where you have like the paranormal, the creepy and all that, you can't predict that stuff in wrestling. You can't. Because... when you're a writer and you're writing wrestling and you have to deal with a character like that, it's so hard to work with characters like that. And those kinds of angles can go any which direction that they please.
Right.
So trying to predict, it's like I said with Bray, trying to predict Bray's next moves when he's being cryptic and not giving you those subtle hints, you can't.
Yeah.
Because it's just... You just can't fathom what it is in a wrestling context. But I don't know what their end goal is. I'm guessing, those video vignettes he posted when he was injured, right, led me to believe that it's related to some kind of girl, which made me think, maybe they're doing this whole Sister Abigail thing again, because they kind of dropped Sister Abigail from the Wyatt family for a while. And then they brought her back with Randy Orton. And then Bray doesn't really mention her anymore. So I guess Eric Rowan's now taking the fold.
I don't think it... But the other thing also is that when Bray was having his rivalry with Randy Orton, he actually said that him and Sister Abigail were one, so...
Yeah, it makes me kind of weird. That kind of throws Bray's context out the window if they try and say that Eric's talking to Sister Abigail. Unless Eric is just a psychopath who's hearing voices in his head. Hey, maybe he and Randy can have a drink. I talk about the voices in their heads. Because that's really all the art. And that's the thing. That's the other thing when it comes to creepy characters. Don't expect them to be straight line. Don't expect context. Because with creepy characters and paranormal shit in wrestling, they're going to jump. There's going to be plot holes. There's going to be holes in their story. They're going to change. They're going to change what they said. You just have to. So, yeah, that kind of throws Bray's kind of thing about him and Sister Abigail being one now, which I think was supposed to be her kind of write-off.
Yeah.
I think that whole thing with Randy was supposed to kind of say, okay, we're done with Sister Abigail, not going to be mentioned. Then they reveal Eric, and then if they talk about Eric Rowan talking to Sister Abigail, well, you brought her back, even though you basically wrote her off.
Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but with characters like that, it just happens sometimes. You can't prevent it. Sorry to say to all the people. But that was basically all a Backlash, wasn't it? For the most part? Yeah. Unless I'm forgetting a match. Tag title, blah, blah, blah. Talked about Ziggler and Nakamura, talked about Rowan.
I think it's kind of safe to say that NXT TakeOver was kind of
NXT TakeOver. Yeah, that's what I say.
Backlash.
Here's what I say. My review of Backlash. Go watch Tyler Bate and Pete Toon again instead. I know I did when I finished watching it. Watch that match instead. Go watch Takeover
that match
again.
is phenomenal.
Go watch. We're not here to talk about. We did a whole Takeover like mini review. We didn't do a full review of Takeover, but we did a mini review, and now we're taking the Backlash review, and we're talking about the NXT. You want our NXT opinions? Go listen to what we said about, and go listen to the NXT thing that we did.
Yeah, exactly.
But Takeover, not good. Not great. Not horrible. But you can deal with it.
Yeah.